use the big hair reveal today.
I love it. And my curls are actually behaving today too, so
Oh,
nature
that's
is with
wonderful.
us.
It's wonderful. When I get in humid areas, what part of the country are you in? Where are you at?
So I currently live in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, okay. You live in Tulsa. Anytime I'm in like any kind of humidity, my mom's white. She's got that curly hair, and so my waves will come through like whenever I travel. But I'm here in Las Vegas. I'm in the desert. Usually, I have to put the curl in.
I have had a shoulder injury for the last like 9 months, and
Mm.
so I have had blunt cut bangs, blunt cut bob, like
Ah,
pretty much for the last 10 years. And with the shoulder injury, I could barely wash my own hair, much less dry and straighten and all
sorry
the
to
things.
hear that.
And so I
You're on
had
the
to
mend
embrace
though?
the girl, but it's working. So
Cool. No, it's cute. It's cute.
thanks.
It's cute. I'm glad to hear you getting better. You doing PT, some physical therapy, stuff like that.
So it's frozen shoulder, which
Oh
they
yeah.
think is related to perimenopause. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a lot of like myofascial release. I'm working with
Stop it.
I'm working with a
Re
Reiki healer.
Do
I
you know
actually
that I'm going to massage school so I can
No.
study MFR under John Barnes? Like,
Oh, cool. Yeah,
I
it's been
love that you
super
said that right
helpful.
now.
So it's called adhesive capsulitis, and it
Yeah.
basically like
Yep.
your entire shoulder just stops moving, and so
Yeah.
she like gets up in and has to like release all the
Absolutely. I just did a
stuff.
testimonial video with one of my other students. He had frozen shoulder since 2017, and I did one 90-minute session with him with MFR, and he still to this day, 7 months later, he has full range of motion. Yeah, he had gone to all these doctors and so many people, and nothing helped except for MFR.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I've been
incredible.
working with her for 5 months, and I'm like pretty close to
I love
having
that for you.
full range of motion back. And then I've been also like the chiropractor and like
Sure.
all sorts of things. But
Yeah.
I also went on a cleanse, which I think
Uh-huh.
helped remove a lot of inflammation. And I
Yeah.
do very kind of holistic, natural approaches just in general.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. I didn't know. Now we can geek out on MFR. That's so fun. So, you're in Tulsa. You are a speaker. That's how we met because we're both in the Carrie Mirabal Speakers Bureau.
Yep.
And so, tell us a little bit about what your platform is, because I know you got a couple events coming up at this month. We'll talk about those in a minute. But what types of things are you speaking about these days?
Yeah, so I have been a professional speaker for about 12 years. My first speaking gig was kind of an accident in
Mm,
2013, and I've just continued to roll with it. My whole platform, whether it's my coaching business, my hypnotherapy business, my speaking business, is all about igniting potential within people and truly removing barriers. So I usually do it through a combination of subconscious work and strategy work. And then on the stage, I get to help people kind of unlock what those invisible walls are for themselves so that they can truly reach into what's possible for them, whether that's making more money, whether that's closing more sales, whether that's just ascending into their higher level of identity. Um, Everything I do is truly about opening up pathways, holding the light, like showing people that what they desire is truly possible. Um, and yeah, so I speak on things like having big goal energy and what it really takes to turn a goal into an everyday reality. I talk a lot about the subconscious mind and the role of mindset in success. I talk a lot about how do you give yourself permission to create success on your terms and not necessarily based on what your parents said success was or what your
ah,
culture says success is or what the society or the community that you come from labels success
mhm.
as. um so yeah.
That's great. That's really cool. And I could see then, of course, why MFR works for you and works with you because it's all about that as well. You know, that's how you approach everything. I call that how we do one thing is how we do anything. And so it seems like I'm noticing common threads
Yeah.
in your work.
Well, and it's very true that so when you get diagnosed with frozen shoulder, they tell you that like it's probably going to be 2 years. Like you said, you just worked with someone who's had it for like 7 years,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
they say that I know a woman who's had it for 2 years who has lower range of motion than I have.
Yeah.
And first of all, before I even knew what it was, I was like being proactive and being like, okay, what does my body need
Right.
to open up those pathways to healing, to a
Mm-hmm.
higher experience? And then once I found out what the diagnosis was, I was like, oh no, like I'm not willing to live in limitation
Right.
physically,
Right.
literally for multiple years.
Yeah.
So, what are my options and how do
You're like, how can
I
we fast track this?
yeah, how do I free up the pathway to return to my highest level of functioning?
Yeah.
And like I said, while most people have this for multiple years on end, I got diagnosed beginning of November.
Okay.
Um, and then it got worse November and December. It continued to like get worse. And then in
Mm,
January is when, within 3 weeks of working with that woman, I actually started regaining motion again.
love it.
And this has happened within the last, I would say, like 4 to 5 weeks. Like, I mean, I was limited to here, and I've gained like 90 degrees in my shoulder because I'm I'm unwilling to be held back by limitation. I'm
Yeah.
whether that's my own limitations and my subconscious telling me what's is and isn't possible for me, whether that's what doctors say, whether that's what like I'm just I personally am like if I'm on this planet for X amount of time, limitation is not the predominant experience that I want to wake up to every single day. And if I know my own personal power and I know what I have to create change in that, then I'm going to do whatever it takes
Yeah.
to actually shift my reality.
And support your success.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well, so again, I can see your approach and the common thread with all of the things that you do. This is really cool. So you say that you've been a professional speaker for 12 years and it was kind of accidental. Tell us how that worked out.
When I was growing up, I was part of like the Big Brothers, Big
Oh
Sisters
yeah, yeah. I've done
organization.
volunteering like with Girls in Tech Las Vegas. We did that. We did some
Yep.
volunteer work with them. It's a great organization. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So growing up with a single mom in the Midwest,
Mm,
she worked at a college and she got me enrolled with one of the programs there. And so I had a big sister, which is funny because like 35 years later, I still see her
oh,
and
I
I
love
connect with
that.
her.
Yeah.
We stayed at her house in Miami when we went in January. And, um, I don't know if I knew at the time the impact that it had, but
Uh-huh.
obviously she's still a part of my life. She's been a great mentor to me. And so the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization of Southwest Washington
Hmm.
asked me to speak at their annual luncheon, I think it was. And so, yeah, that was my first professional speaking gig.
Cool.
And then since then have been on stages all over the country,
Yeah.
virtual stages all over the world. I did
Uh-huh.
my first TEDx talk about
Oh,
3 years ago. Um,
cool. I'm a
and
TEDx speaker too. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, just continuing to get out there and get on stages and I mean, really, truly just show possibility to
Right.
people and let them know that
Right.
the narratives of limitation are changeable, they can evolve, and whether that's on an individual level or a company level or a
Hmm.
societal level, right? Like some of them take a little bit more effort and a little bit longer to change, but for me, as long as we're moving in that direction of evolution, of ascension, of, higher level functioning,
Mm-hmm. Progress,
progress,
forward motion.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, as
Yeah.
much as we'd all like to wave some wands right now and like solve a lot of problems, progress is, I'll take it. I'll take
Yeah.
it.
Right. 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 I know that you have a couple of events coming up, right? You're speaking. I love the name of this conference. It's a Feral conference. Tell us about that because that is such a badass name.
Yeah. So Feral is a 3-day event for entrepreneurs
Yeah.
who know that the old ways of business are no longer working and they're really ready to build something wilder, as
Ah.
the hostess says. And so, um, I think there's a bit of a reckoning right now, especially with online entrepreneurship. And if people are not willing to get a little feral in their business development, you're going to be left behind. So
Mm.
this is truly it's 2 days of live interactions and presentations, and it's meant to really catalyze people into what that next iteration of business looks like so that you're not left behind. And then day 3 is an implementation day. So you're literally there. I'm leading
Ah, so you're
a
practicing what everything you
Yep.
learned. You're really creating the neural pathways to let it
Yep.
kind of sink in.
Because the truth is, so many people attend things and they gather knowledge, but they don't actually root it
That's
then
it.
in their being and in their action. And so they collect a lot of data. They have notebooks full of information, but unless you're actually implementing it and doing something about it, change doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So the third day is all about implementation. My session that day is going to be um, a get ish done session. I won't swear on here, but it's really meant to support you in taking revenue generating actions. My
Yeah.
goal is that you are making money during the 3 days of the event. So I'm going to
Right.
brainwash people for their success
Uh-huh.
and then also help them tap into taking revenue generating actions and making some money.
I love that. I love that, especially with the implementation. And of course, you're very busy. So, you don't just have just one show, you've got multiple things going on. And then you've got this other conference coming up. And that's global.
Yes. So at the end of June,
Uh-huh.
I am partnering with the Global Female Entrepreneurs Conference,
Uh-huh.
and I'm going to be doing some mentorship hours there. So, what I love about that one is that it's not going to be me just, again, like giving you information. I feel like there's enough information out there. And so
Uh-huh.
I try, whether I'm online speaking, whether I'm in a room speaking, my whole thing is information doesn't act like information is kind of worthless right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much
Without
information
action.
out there.
That's right.
You can Google information,
Right.
but it's truly, again, like what you do with that information. And so with the Global Female Entrepreneurs event, it's 2 days at the end of June, and I'll be doing mentorship sessions. So again, it's going to be people bringing me what they need and where they're at, and I'll be helping to unlock them into moving forward and taking action.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That sounds and it focuses on women. Which is really cool too.
Yep.
It's neat. Do you often speak at women's conferences, or do you specialize? I'm getting a theme here of women entrepreneurs. Is that about right for you? Is
I
that your sweet spot?
I do work with a lot of women,
Uh-huh.
and as I say, a few brave men.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also currently in a bit of a transition with my business. And so historically, I have worked with primarily entrepreneurs.
Uh-huh.
I'm moving into working with more entrepreneurs, executive leaders, thought leaders, visionaries, things like that.
Uh-huh.
Um, because I feel like there are some really good opportunities for corporations to be up leveling again in this kind of like wild, wild west era that we're entering into in business. And I'm really excited, and I'm excited to do it with subconscious work coupled with
So
HIPAA.
when you say up leveling, what kinds of up leveling would you like to see from, let's say, a larger corporation? I mean, even a medium size, a mid-range corporation to larger corporations. I mean, we're looking at places like Microsoft, who laid off 3% of their staff, then again a week later just laid off some more people, and news down the pipeline is that they're not done yet. So, when we see those kinds of things happening, what kinds of up leveling would you like businesses to see, where people have a little bit more job security, where people are taken care of, and they know that their job is there for them for longer than 2, 3 years, right? Like what
Yeah.
kind of up leveling things are you talking about that you'd like to see?
So I'm in the business of good business. As much as all of us want to be making profits,
Yeah.
right? I think that the era of profits over people
Mm-hmm.
is over,
Mm-hmm.
especially as Gen Z enters the workforce more and more. They are
Mm-hmm.
not interested in that, and they are not tolerating it or putting up with it.
Mm-hmm.
The overwhelming sentiment of our personal relationship with work and with business is radically different. Um, Gen Z needs purpose. They need companies that care about them. They need to feel like they're an active participant in the process.
Right.
Whereas say, my grandparents' generation or even my parents' generation
Mm-hmm.
was all about like, we just go to work, we get a paycheck, we whatever, right?
Don't
Like
ask
it
questions. Don't
exactly.
don't shake the yeah, right, 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 right.
And also too, we have been in more of a like gig economy for also a very long time.
Long
So the
time.
idea that like, my grandfather worked for the same company from, I think my mom was 10, so like 1966
Yeah.
until when he retired in the 2000s, right? Like,
Unheard of right now.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so I think that by companies taking care of their people, that then when people either get laid off or move to their next opportunity, right? Like the priority has been on the person and the person doing well so that they're then able to enter into what the next iteration of their
Uh-huh.
journey
Uh-huh.
is. And I
Uh-huh.
think that our world is moving so much faster nowadays. The idea that someone stays in the same spot for 40 years just is not
Right.
it's not the world we live in. So what if our companies could prioritize people and not burn bridges with
Mm-hmm.
layoffs? Like what if a layoff was a loving invitation for someone to enter into the next phase of their journey, and that person has been uplifted through their entire time at said company so that they're ready for that and they
Mm-hmm.
have the tools to succeed with whatever
Mm-hmm.
their next step is. um, I just look at a lot of things that are happening right now, and uh, there's so much of our conditioning is still very much tied to how things have been done in the past.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I just think there's some opportunities right now to say, okay, that's where we were, but that's not where the world is going. So if we know the world is going in a new direction, why not set ourselves as a company and our employees up to both succeed and create win-win environments so that all of us are elevating and moving towards a higher experience of
And
work
and
practice.
and what you're describing is more sustainable as well, right? Because then we don't have this rise fall, this all the time, this freeze time, this and it used to be, like, oh, every quarter the companies that to keep stakeholders happy, they're going to lay off 3% or they're going to cut 10% of the work. But it's actually with this first round of layoffs at Microsoft, even it was people who'd been there for 12, 13 years even. So even that, isn't really, loyalty doesn't really get you anywhere to a company these days. Like,
No.
in the example of your grandparents, your parents, same kind of thing. It doesn't really get you anywhere. And what we know also is like for mental health reasons. So I'm certified in mental health first aid, and our nonprofit talks about these transitional periods and transitional times where there aren't the supportive systems in place to help the next person go, look what you're talking about, right? And what happens is somebody who's been at a company for 12, 13 years, suddenly they're just dropped. Yeah, heck, even 5 years, even three, to suddenly just be dropped like that with nothing to catch you, no net, no transition, no counseling, no how do we get to the next place? What are the options? Do I need to change skills, change industries? What do I need? A lot of people are out there struggling, and especially in tech. And so in my industry, the interview processes for these things are just it's like a full-time job just to apply to a new job. I was the other one that I just watched was air traffic controllers. I just watched that piece that they did talking about the shortage of air traffic controllers and the hiring process, and the mental strain, the enormous mental strain that they're under, and they're just not being taken care of. Do you see this in other fields? Do you see this specifically, with certain generational
Well,
workers? Because you work with a wide range of people in your coaching business. What kind of patterns do you see?
so the biggest pattern that I think I see, whether it's a corporate employee or whether it's an entrepreneur or whatever, is that we are conditioned to outsource our power.
Mm,
And we are conditioned to say that, like, oh, my employer is the one that has the power, or the
ah,
hiring manager is the one that has the power.
ah,
And I stopped outsourcing my power over a decade ago. And any time that I am feeling powerless about
mhm.
something in my circumstances or my situation, I know, and I've conditioned myself to know, that turning back inwards and saying, no, I have the
Wow.
power. Like, it's my
Yeah.
responsibility to decide what I want and what's most aligned, and then to take the action to get there. Now, are there systemic things that maybe hinder some people from
Sure.
succeeding more with that than
The
others?
barriers to
Yes.
entry are stronger for certain groups, certain
Yes.
demographical groups, your socioeconomical status, all of that.
Yes. And I always just look at, there have to be options and there have to be resources available. I just, the way that I view the world is I refuse to believe that there's not something out there that has our backs, and that thing exists within us as well. And so that's where I'm kind of like, what if we were to start returning people to their power,
And
returning
having
people.
faith within themselves,
Yep.
faith
And
in their
then,
own ability to get those resources, to find the relationships, to cultivate the new skills.
and the courage to act on it as
Oh
well,
yeah.
right? Is like, how often do we all sit around thinking about these things, or
Yeah.
knowing that
Uh-huh.
we want to move in a certain direction, and then
Sure.
we don't ask, or we sit silent. In 2014, I got an email from my employer that said, we just want to remind you, you either need to become a full-time employee again, or we're cutting your hourly pay in half. And it blindsided me because I had never gotten the first email. So the reminder email was like not a
Right.
reminder. It was the first
Yeah.
notice that this was
Yeah.
happening next week. And I remember looking at that email saying, I want neither of those things. And while I was spiraling into a pit of fear and anxiety and depression,
She
there was
says with
this
a
little
smile.
voice that popped up that said, you just saw Ariana Huffington speak,
Yeah.
and she just gave you her email address at the end of this talk. Email her.
Yeah.
And a huge part of me was like, who do you think you are? What are you doing? Why would you ever do that? That's dumb. She's never going to read it. You're going to get passed off to an intern. They're going to say, "Oh, we'll get back to you," and blah 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 blah. And so like there was this huge part of myself trying to talk me out of it and not take the action that I knew in my heart I needed to take.
Yeah.
Long story short, I did end up taking the action. She emailed me back within an hour. She asked me to start writing for the Huffington Post, which I didn't even know was an option at the time. And literally 3 months later, I was on the Today Show. The Today Show
Nice.
called me to feature my voice on their platform. And
Nice.
so I want, again, like, if I know what my definition of success is and
Mm-hmm.
I'm working through all my blocks to that, then I have the power, and I'm the only one that has power to take action to change my results and to defy my current reality.
Well, for me, and I think for a lot of people, it's so easy to get into like a victim mindset. And what I'm hearing you say is this is a framework for avoiding that, for getting up out of it. But also what I heard you say is you did it even though you were afraid, right? You had to get real brave and just kind of do it, even though you were uncertain. So in these uncertain times, to one, take your power back and understand that you have that power. To have faith in your ability to seek out those resources, to seek out those relationships, to ask for help. And then three, to do it even if you don't know what you're doing and you're uncertain
Well,
about it, and be courageous. Yeah.
and let's be honest, life is uncertain.
Yeah.
We all want to cling to the known and the predictable and the Groundhog Day and the things,
Mm-hmm.
but like anything could happen at any point, good or bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all assume bad, but also good. My assistant just texted me the other day and she's like, I just had the biggest aha moment. She's like, my brain always defaults to the worst case scenario. And
Yeah.
I thought to myself, well, if I can just default to the worst case scenario, I could also default to the best case scenario.
Right.
But the truth is, best case or worst case scenario, both of them are unknown. And
Yeah.
so the uncertainty is going to be there no matter what. And I always say there's one thing in our lives from birth till death that is 100% certain. There's only one thing, and it's you. You're the only consistent thing that is in
Mm-hmm.
your life through the entirety of it.
Yeah.
So why not find your power? Why
Right.
not give
Right.
yourself permission to take the big leap that you've been wanting to take? Why not set yourself up for success? Why not do the scary thing? Why not, like, I don't know, I maybe live in a bit of a different way than the majority of people, but I've really embraced the unknown and I purposefully put myself in the unknown. I leave on Sunday for Prescott, Arizona for 3 weeks,
Uh-huh.
house sit, because I just need to be in a space that's
Uh-huh.
not my like everyday
Yeah.
reality. I need to put myself in the unknown to flex and expand into the next
Nice.
version of my journey.
Yeah. And you're just putting yourself in a new spot. Like I used to do that, when I was younger, at a young age. I remember my very first flight was to Australia. Like I didn't just take a little flight or a
That's
short
a
flight. I
long
went all
way.
the way on the other side of the world from teeny tiny Upper Peninsula, Michigan, right? Um, and then I remember landing and being like, oh, why did I put myself here? Like, what's going on? It's so different and everything. So, and I did the same thing when I went to Peru. I went to Peru for a few months. I volunteered in an orphanage. I met wonderful, dear friend there, several actually friends there. And it was the same thing. I remember the night before I was sitting there and I was going, I was I was like, why do I do this? Like, it's so uncertain. But every time I did, kind of force myself out of my comfort zone, I grow and I learn so much about my responses. I can go, oh, look, that's interesting. Look, I'm feeling lonely. Oh, look at this. I feeling insecure. Oh, I'm confident here. I remember confidently going through the rainforest with bare feet, without a compass, and leading other people out of the rainforest because they were lost. Um, and I was like, gosh, why can't I take this back with me? Wait a minute. I can take this back with me. Right.
Yep.
Like you learn so much about yourself, I think, when you do those things and you do
And
those types of things outside
and
of
you
your comfort zone.
and you open yourself up too to like opportunities and pathways and people and things that you can't get from your couch
That's
either.
it.
um when I was 20 years old, I moved to Italy for 2 years.
Love.
I didn't know the language.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know a single person.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I'd been out of the country before was to Mexico for spring break when I was a college student.
Yeah.
Like I but had I not taken that step, and even so, the first step was just to go for a year, and then the second step was to go back and get my master's. Like, had I not taken those two steps, I mean, maybe I would have found my way to this point, but I don't know if I'd be on this path today, because I had to have those experiences. I had to put myself out there. I had to prove to myself the resiliency I had to put myself in a completely unknown place
Yeah.
where I didn't know anyone or the language, or I also got lost going to school the first day, not the
Yeah.
rainforest, but but again, when you don't speak the language, how do you ask someone
Sure.
where to get to? So I do think it's really important that we embrace the unknown and that we embrace the uncertainty. And then again, remember bringing it back to ourselves that, okay, it might be weird out there, but I know within myself that I have the courage, I have the determination, I have the resiliency, and I'm real clear about who I am to be able to create a new reality for myself.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful stuff, Bree. That's great. Wonderful. Hey, listen, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for people to connect with you for your coaching skills, hire you for your keynotes? What's the best platform? Where are you the most?
So my website is a great place. It's my name, breeseely.com. It has all my speaking stuff on there. It has coaching. It has my subconscious activations. And then also I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. You can find me, again, my name. I think I'm definitely the most prominent Bree Seely on the
Oh, good
internet.
job. Well
So
done.
it's nice to have a unique name.
It
Uh,
is. It
I
is. I can
just
confirm.
I just got married and everyone was like, "Are you changing your name?" And I'm like, "No, are you kidding me?
I worked
Absolutely
so hard
not."
for that brand.
I
Like,
know.
no. Maybe they'll change their name. Like, no, I'm.
I've asked, it's a no, but it's fine.
Yeah,
People still
that's
call
great.
him Mr. Seely periodically, which I
There
think is
you go.
hilarious.
There you go. That's wonderful. Yeah. My partner too. People call him Mr. Eldon. They'll get Mr. Eldon, and we're not married. And even if we were, I probably wouldn't change my name. But yeah, I don't know. That's every now and then. Yeah, he gets Mr. Well, listen, if anyone wants to connect with you, you're on LinkedIn, your Instagram, your breeseely.com. Wonderful, wonderful chat today. Thanks so much for taking the time to share what you do. I really hope that the rehab with the shoulder continues to go well. Yay, MFR. Shout out to MFR.
I did get in my yoga hammock yesterday for the first time. And again, I
Ah,
couldn't do a full downward dog, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
coming.
You're
So,
getting there. You're
yeah.
getting there. You will prevail. You've got the resilience. Yeah, it's all within you.
It's so true.
Excellent. You have a terrific day. Enjoy the rest of your day, Bree. Thanks so much for talking today and chatting with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. See ya. Bye.